me ask you something. Have you ever been held accountable for something you were never included in? Like decisions were made, context was shared, expectations were set, and somehow, some way you kind of missed it all? Not because you weren't paying attention, but nobody brought you into the room. And now you're expected to lead something you don't fully see. That feeling, that's what people call drowning. But let me tell you the truth. You're not drowning. You're never giving the full visibility. I remember this time, it was probably about 3 years or more. I was sitting in this meeting. I had the plan. I had my notes. I thought I was prepared, but within the first few minutes, something just kind of felt off. It just didn't feel right. People started referencing decisions I wasn't part of, bringing up context that was never shared, asking questions on information I didn't even have access to. I had to pull up the meeting agenda that I created to make sure that I was in the right meeting. Don't judge me, because one day you may experience this. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, was there another meeting? Was I supposed to be included in that particular meeting? Or how am I being measured on something I have no visibility to? And nobody stopped to acknowledge it. Nobody said, hey, here's the background, what did you miss? They just kept moving like I should already know. That's when it hit me. A lot of project managers don't drown because they're unprepared. They drown because they're operating in silos where information is fragmented, expectations are invisible, alignment is assumed, not confirmed. So now you're trying to lead without full context, without shared understanding, without a clear definition of what success is. And then people look at you and say, hey, project manager, why is this off track? So if you've ever felt like that, where you're being held accountable for things you were never included in, expected to deliver on outcomes that were never clearly defined, let me be clear, and I'm being crystal clear about something. You're drowning because you were placed in an environment that didn't give you full visibility. So we're going to unpack this, because once you see it clearly, you'll stop blaming yourself and you'll start navigating differently. Principle number one. Drowning looks different from the inside. See, from the outside, it looks like you're doing your job. From the inside, it feels like everything is slipping. That disconnect is real, and it's more common than you think as a project manager or a project coordinator or even a business analyst. Why is this important? If you think you're the only one feeling this way, you'll isolate yourself and spiral. Naming that feeling is the first step in managing it. Experiment with these actual tips. Name it specifically. Write down what specifically feels overwhelming instead of saying everything. See, precision reduces panic. Oh, I like that, family. Next one, separate the known from the assumed. List what you know versus what you're assuming. Most of the weight is in the assumptions. Here's my professional advice. Most people in your position feel this. They just don't say it out loud. I'm saying it out loud for you so you'll know you're not alone. Matter of fact, you're not behind. You're just being honest about where you are. And when you don't say it out loud, your mind starts creating its own narrative, its own story, which leads me to principle number two. Principle number two, imposter syndrome is a symptom, not a diagnosis. Ooh, I like that. See, that feeling of, I just don't belong here. It's not proof you're unqualified. It's a signal that something is unclear. Maybe it's an expectation. Maybe it's about your role or about how success is actually defined. Why is this important? If you treat it like a personal flaw, guess what will happen? You'll shrink. If you treat it like a signal, you start getting curious. One leads to withdrawal, the other leads to action, and we're about action here. So experiment with these actionable tips. Ask for clarity. Ask one question in your next meeting that gives you clarity. One question at a time builds confidence. Next one, identify the gap. Identify one area where expectations are unclear and surface it. Don't absorb it silently. Here's my professional advice, family. Confidence doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from reducing unknowns, one conversation at a time. And one of the biggest unknowns is how you're measuring yourself against others, which leads me to principle number three. Principle number three, you're comparing your beginning to someone else's middle. Whew. I don't know how many times I've experienced this personally, where I started looking and watching where someone that I admired as a project manager. And I'm like, why am I not there yet? And I had to realize I had to what? Run my own race. See, you're watching people who have years of reps, whether context, relationship, being able to understand pattern recognition while you're still learning the flow. This is not a gap in talent. It's just a gap in time and sets in rep. Why is this important? Comparison will make progress feel invincible. You'll actually dismiss real growth because it doesn't match someone else's output level. Experiment with these actionable tips. Track your progress. Track one thing you understand today that you didn't last week. Now we're talking real progress. See, progress is real. You just have to measure it. Next one, get honest feedback, or I should say, get honest benchmarks. See, ask a senior PM what their first year actually looked like. That answer, I promise you, it will surprise you. Maybe I'll do something for you where I'll tell you about my first year and the disaster as a project manager it was for me, because I really think that will help someone. But here's my professional advice. You're never behind. You're just kind of early. See, there's a difference. And it matters how you treat yourself in the season that you're in. But even when you realize that, something feels structurally off, not just in you, in the environment, which leads to principle number 4. Principle number 4, the system sets you up to struggle. Ooh, I might ruffle some feathers here. See, lack of onboarding, unclear process, missing documentation, conflicting priorities, that's not you. That's the environment. The dysfunction existed before you even walked in the door. Why is this important? Once you see the system clearly, you'll stop blaming yourself for everything and you'll start solving the right problems instead of absorbing the wrong ones. Let me even add some more context there, family. This is not about taking accountability, because we want to take accountability, but we have to understand what can we control and what can we not control. We can control our attitude. We can control how we can get better. We can control practicing Kaizen. What does that mean? Getting 1% better each and every day. Experiment with these actionable tips. Name the gap. Identify one process gap that's causing confusion and just document it clearly. Next one. Build what's missing. Start documenting what you wish existed. This document, this might become a standard others follow. Here's my professional advice, family. Strong project managers don't wait for the organization to get its act together. They create clarity in the middle of chaos. But you don't create clarity alone. You have to know when and how to ask for help without losing credibility, which leads us into our next principle. Principle number 5, asking for help isn't weakness, it's navigation. See, a lot of times, family, this role is not about knowing everything. You shouldn't know everything. This is why we have SMEs. What are SMEs? Subject matter expert. It's about knowing how to get the right information from the right people at the right time. Now, that alone is a skill. This is not a shortcut. This is something you're going to continue to build on. Why is it important? Trying to prove yourself through silence will slow you down more than asking for help ever will. And it will cost you visibility, trust, and time. Experiment with these actionable tips. Reframe the ask. Replace, I should know this, versus, who can help me understand this? See, one protects the ego, other drives output and outcomes. Next one. Ask with precision. Ask targeted, specific questions. Vague questions signal confusion, but specific questions signal leadership. Here's my professional advice. The strongest people in the room are usually asking the best question, not because they know all the answer, but because they understand the power of curiosity and inquiry. When you start asking better questions, you start trusting your own read of the situation, which leads us to our next principle. Principle number 6. Your instincts are often right. You just don't trust them yet. Hey, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't trust my instincts for a while either. But over time, as I got sets and reps in, I understood I needed to trust my instincts. See, you already notice when something feels off in a meeting, when stakeholders are disengaged, when a scope is drifting. You kind of start second guessing yourself before even acting on it. Why is this important? Early awareness prevents large stage problems. The PM who asks or speaks up at the first sign of misalignment has an opportunity to save the project. But, the one who waits for proof, they're going to inherit the crisis. Experiment with these actual tips. Speak up early. When something feels unclear, misaligned, name it in that moment. Early friction is easier to manage than late failure. Next one, validate data points. Validate your instinct with one person or one data point before dismissing it. You're usually closer right than you think. Here's my professional advice. Trust is built through small confirmations, not one big, huge moment. Every time you act on instinct and it's validated, you build internal evidence that you belong. And once you start trusting yourself, you start believing in yourself, you start noticing more than just tasks. You actually start reading the room, which leads us to our next principle. Principle number 7, nobody taught you to read the room, but this is a skill. See, project management isn't just about deliveries. It's about people, tone, energy, subtext. The unspoken dynamics in a meeting often matter more than what's actually on the agenda. Why is this important? What's not said in a meeting is often more important than what is. If you can't read the room, you'll keep solving the stated problem while the real ones go unaddressed. Oh, I like that, family. Experiment with these actionable tips. Watch the quiet ones. Yes, the quiet ones. See, notice who's quiet in the meetings and why. Silence is often the loudest signal in the room. Next one, track the shifts. Pay attention to the tone changes and hesitations. They're almost a signal something worth following up on. Here's my professional advice. If you can read the room, you can lead the room. That shift from task manager to room reader is what separates good PMs from exceptional ones. But even when you start seeing clearly, things still might go wrong. And how you respond to that is everything, which leads us to our last principle. Principle number 8, recovery is part of the role. You will miss things. You will drop follow-ups. You will misread stakeholder. You will even underestimate what a dependency is. That's not failure. That's experience in real time. Why is this important? Your value is not perfection. It's how you respond when things break. Leaders are measured by their recovery, not by their streak. Experiment with these actionable tips. Acknowledge quickly. Surface issues early and own them clearly. Delayed acknowledgement turns a mistake into a trust problem. Next one, lead with next steps. Always come with next steps. Here's what happened. Here's what I'm doing about it. That's leadership. My professional advice here, family. People don't remember the mistake nearly as long as they remember how you handle it. Recovery is the reputation. And what you learn to survive in this role becomes the framework you eventually hand to someone behind you. That's full circle leadership. Here's the truth, family. So if you're feeling like you're drowning right now, it's not because you can't swim. It's because nobody handed you a life jacket. And in a lot of cases, they didn't even show you the full picture. But now you see things differently. You understand the environment. You understand the gaps. You understand where your power actually is. And once you see that clearly, it's no longer about survival. You learn how to navigate. Well, family, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I go by the name of ED. For all you smart and intelligent folks out there, hey, listen, that just simply means air. Until next time.